Most salespeople start their conversations with prospects by pitching. And by that, I mean this. I'm with XYZ company and we are the best. We are the most experienced. We are the awesomest company in the world. Now, obviously I'm a little tongue-in-cheek there, but that's what pitching is. It's starting off the conversation in a way that is totally focused on me, the salesperson, and my company. But prospects don't care about you or your company, so they will immediately tune out. You need to have an approach that is going to both set you apart from the competition and set you up as the expert in a way that will ultimately engage the prospect. In this video, I'm going to show you the single best way to start a conversation with any prospect. Check it out. Now, I'm going to show you a very simple three-step approach to starting a conversation with any prospect. And the first part is all about showing that you know what's going on in their marketplace. When a prospect thinks that you're going to provide them with some valuable information, they're immediately going to start to listen. So start off that conversation with something that sounds like this. Right now, I'm seeing a lot going on in your sector that looks like the following. Now that simple sentence is all about showing them value. You're coming off as the expert because you see what's going on in their sector or their industry or amongst companies like them. By doing that, they're going to say, maybe I should listen to this person. The next step is to list off three very common challenges that you both see going on in the marketplace, but also challenges that you solve. Now, this may sound simple, but I find that a lot of times salespeople get this wrong. So I would start with, right now I'm seeing a lot of companies that are struggling with, and then those three challenges. Again, it's showing that you know what's going on, and I'll give you some examples of the challenges that I might list off. So mine might sound a lot like, a lot of companies right now that I see in the marketplace are losing sales to low-cost competitors. Or they're frustrated with old sales approaches that just simply aren't working on savvy prospects. Or finally, they're just finding it more difficult than ever to set really good quality sales meetings. So you can see what I did there is I listed off three very simple challenges that are very likely to be relevant to my prospect. What are those challenges that your prospects are facing that you solve? Think about those, write them out, and start to incorporate them into your opening. And then lastly, the third part is all about engaging the prospect with a question. And so a simple way to tie this off with a bow might sound like, do any of those issues ring true to you? By finishing off those three challenges and then asking a question like, do any of those issues ring true to you? You are now encouraging them to engage with those challenges. And what you're going to find is that the prospect is going to say, yeah, actually, we are dealing with one of those challenges. And once you have that, now you can dig into that challenge. And the interaction is off to the races. If you use this very, very simple approach, you're going to accomplish a lot of things all at once. Your prospect is going to see you as an expert, as someone who knows what's going on. Two, you're going to really engage them in a conversation. And three, you're ultimately going to take that sales conversation down a very, very powerful path, which is a conversation based around the challenges that your prospect is facing. If you can accomplish those three key points, then you have just started a really, really effective sales conversation. So there you have it. There is the single best way to start a conversation with any prospect. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever used this approach or a similar approach before? If so, what was the result? Be sure to share below in the comments section, and I will be sure to respond to every comment that I can get to. And if you enjoyed this video, then I have an incredible free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goal. It's this ebook. It's unbelievable. All you have to do is just click right here to get it instantly. Seriously, it's an amazing book and it's free. Just click right here to get it instantly. Also, if you got some value from this video, please like this video below on YouTube because that really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking right here to get access to a new video just like this one each week. And lastly, if you got just one useful idea from this video, please share it with a friend or two. A great idea is the best gift you can give someone. Until next week.
Hello, it's Colin.
Hey Colin, Marc Wayshak calling. Did I catch you at a bad time there?
Yeah, I'm a little caught up with some things right now.
Okay, well, fair enough. Would it be okay if I took 30 seconds, told you why I called, and if after doesn't make sense, we could just hang up? Does that sound fair?
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay, great. So I'm a sales strategist who works with mid-sized companies to create a game plan for dramatically increasing sales. And my clients typically come to me when they're losing sales to low-cost competitors. Their teams are inconsistently hitting sales targets, or finally they're just frustrated with the lack of results from their existing sales team. Any of those issues ring true to you?
Yeah, actually, not hitting sales goals has kind of been a problem for my company recently.
Tell me just a little bit more about that.
Well, we have about 20 to 25 agents in my office, and it just seems like we've been losing a lot of these big condo sales to our competitors recently. We're not moving quick enough. When we are showing the places, we seem to be just somehow not closing the sales. I haven't been able to figure out what the real issues are, but we're definitely losing some business.
Mm. And, I mean, what have you done to fix this?
I've had some chats with my bigger sales guys to see what the problems are that they seem to think. Why aren't they closing these sales compared to what they were doing 6 months ago and a year ago? Again, we haven't really been able to put our finger on something. The market is great right now. There's places that are selling in a day to 2 days after they go on the market, and we're just not getting those places. We're having people come to us. People want to buy condos. They want to move quickly, and we're just losing out on a lot of great places.
It's a really common issue I hear. What would you say this issue is costing you and your organization?
I have to say, I'd probably say around 2.5 to 3 million.
Okay. Well, Colin, can I make a recommendation?
Yeah, sure.
Why don't we set up an appointment and get together face to face? I'd say it takes about 60 minutes or so, and we can talk this further. I think there are some ideas that I could share with you to really help you solve this challenge. I mean, does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, I'd be willing to set up a meeting.
Okay, great. So, what works for you next week?
Next week, I think I'm pretty busy Monday and Tuesday, but I could do like a Wednesday afternoon or Thursday morning.
Okay. Looking at my calendar, Wednesday afternoon is fine with me. So, what's best for you Wednesday afternoon?
Hold on, I'm just pulling up my calendar. Anytime after 2 p.m.
Okay. I can actually make 2:30 work.
That's perfect.
Okay, and so the address for your office, just to confirm, is 8 Broadway Street in Boston, right?
That's correct.
Okay, great. And just before I hang up, is there anyone else that you would want to include in this conversation who might be involved in this kind of a decision?
No, really, just I'm the decision maker.
Okay.
So I think there's nobody that I could think of that I'd want to bring along.
Okay, terrific. Well, then I will see you at your office, and we will discuss this a little bit further then.
Great. Thanks for the call, Mark.
All right. Thank you, Colin.
Bye-bye.
So there is the actual prospecting call. I want to hear from you. What ideas do you take from this reenactment? Be sure to share below in the comment section, and I will get to every single comment that I can. And if you enjoyed this video, click right here for a free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goals. Seriously, it's an amazing ebook and it's free. So just click right here. Also, if you got some value, please like this video on YouTube because that really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking right here to get access to a new video just like this one each and every week. People always ask me, what should I do to be more effective on the phone in sales? And my initial response always begins with something that sounds like this. Well, let me first tell you what you need to stop doing. There are some mistakes that most salespeople are making right now on the phone, and it is killing their sales calls because the prospect is immediately repelled by what they're doing. I mean, put yourself in the mind of your prospect. Do you want to receive sales calls? Of course not. Not to mention that the typical high-level prospect is receiving anywhere from 5 to even 25 sales calls a day. That can mean hundreds of sales calls every week. So how do you break through the clutter? Now, I want to be clear, this doesn't mean that you should just suddenly stop making sales calls because a lot of people are doing it, but rather ensure that you're not making these crushing mistakes that most salespeople make. In this video, I'm going to show you 7 phone sales mistakes that most salespeople make. Check it out. Number 1, calling at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Most salespeople do their calling when? After they've been in the office for a while. You know, it's so comfortable to come in, check your emails, get your coffee, go through some more paperwork, and then start making your calls at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. But unfortunately, your competitors are doing the same thing. Plus, your prospects are most likely to actually be really busy at these times because this is when most meetings are actually scheduled. Instead, try calling early in the morning or during lunchtime or later in the evening. Even try calling on Saturdays. This is going to be much more likely to get you through to that high-level decision maker. Number 2, opening with, "How are you?" Now, there is no more overplayed opening to a call than this. "Hey, how are you today?" It's annoying and immediately gives you away as a salesperson. Get to the point. Drop the "how are you?" Instead, use something that's going to break through and not sound like all the other salespeople out there. Number 3, using the sales voice. Now, you may have heard this in my last role play, but next time you make a sales call, I challenge you to actually record your voice. And by the way, you don't need to record the whole call. Just record your voice on your side of the conversation. That means you could use your iPhone or a recorder or a microphone, just getting your side of the conversation. And listen to just your voice. Do you sound like the normal you, like the you who talks to their family or a friend? Or do you sound just a little more salesy? Listen to the tone of your voice, that pitch. Prospects pick up on this change in your tone of voice, and it is immediately giving you away as a salesperson. Number 4, pitching on the phone. And by pitching, I mean literally pitching your offer at a prospect. Now, a prospecting call is never a time to pitch your offering. Instead, it's time to understand whether it just makes sense to set a meeting. And the goal of that call, if it goes well, is to set the meeting, not make a sale, not sell that person. This time is not about you and your offering, but instead, it's a time to focus on the prospect, to ask them questions to really find out whether a meeting even makes sense. Number 5, not focusing on them. The only person who ever matters during a prospecting call is who? Exactly, the prospect. Salespeople, so often, we can get caught up in how great our offering is that we can actually forget who really matters, and that is the buyer. So be sure to ask them questions about their key challenges to assess whether there's a fit. What you offer is irrelevant in that initial call. What matters is them. Mistake number 6, unclear goals for the call. There is only ever one goal for any prospecting call, and I've already given it away. And by the way, that goal is not to sell the prospect. The goal is to schedule a meeting. Get very, very clear on what you're looking to accomplish in any call. Stop trying to sell prospects on those initial calls and instead get clear that your only goal is that scheduled meeting. Mistake number 7, no scheduled next step. And so what I mean by this is that so many salespeople can do a great job on a call, but then end the call with, hey, you know what, I'll get back to you shortly, or I'll send you some information and then reach back out to you. But you know what? This is actually putting you at a tremendous disadvantage. The goal of the call is not to have to try to call them again and chase them around and hopefully you find them. You need to set scheduled next steps. That means using your calendar, your online calendar, whether it's Google or Outlook or whatever it is, you want to schedule a next step that is agreed to on both sides. So always end any successful call with a scheduled next step. That means that a calendar invite should go out immediately after the successful call. Everything must be scheduled after that initial call. So there are the 7 phone sales mistakes that most salespeople make. I want to hear from you. Which of these mistakes have you made in the past? Be sure to share below in the comments section, and I will be sure to respond to every comment that I can get to. And if you enjoyed this video, then I have this awesome free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goals. Just click right here to get it instantly. Seriously, it's an amazing book and it's free. Just click right here. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube because that really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe by clicking right here to get access to a new video just like this one each week. Lastly, if you got just one useful idea from this video, please share it with a friend or two. A great idea is the best gift you can give someone. Until next week. At the end of the day, it's about actually closing sales. You can do everything else right, but if you're not actually closing deals, you're going broke fast. Over the past 10 years of working with thousands of salespeople, I've discovered that the best closers use the same types of questions over and over and over in order to close sales. And you'll notice that they don't all come right before the close, but rather throughout that discovery process to seed a close and seeding that higher value sale. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 closing questions that every salesperson must ask. Check it out. Question number 1. What does this challenge cost you? Now, without understanding the cost of a prospect's problem, you're never going to get them to actually articulate the value of actually solving that problem. So let me give you an example. If a challenge costs a prospect $1 million, then the solution to solve that problem is worth $1 million. This is key. Getting your prospects to articulate what that challenge is costing them is creating massive value and is thus seeding them to start thinking about how important that solution is. Question number 2, is solving this challenge a priority to you right now? Now, this is a question that's really a challenge to the prospect, but you're going to ask it in a way that's not aggressive, but is genuine. Because you want to know if right now is the priority time. Have you ever gone through the entire sales process only to hear from the prospect that, you know what, we're going to put this off till next year? That was your fault if that happened. And by the way, it's happened to all of us, so don't feel bad. So we need to discover if right now the challenge is a key priority. And if it is, then you can get full buy-in for your solution. You do not present, though, until you know if the challenge is a priority right now. Question number 3. What would you like to do next? Now this is really towards the close of the sale. Once you've gone through the full discovery process and you want to test them to see whether they're even really thinking about moving forward with your solution, that's where you ask this question. It lets them feel like they're actually driving the boat, but it also gives you really important feedback into their actual desire to work with you. So there are 3 closing questions that every salesperson must ask. I want to hear from you. Which of these questions did you find most useful? Be sure to share below in the comments section, and I will be sure to respond to every comment that I can. And if you enjoyed this video, click right here to get a free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goals. Seriously, it's an amazing book and it's free. Just click right here. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube because that really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking right here in order to get access to a new video just like this one each week. Lastly, if you got just one useful idea from this video, please share it with a friend or even 2 by forwarding it on to them. A great idea is the best gift that you can give someone. You've gone through the entire sales process. Everything seemed great. You go to close that deal and the prospect says to you, I want to think it over. Hey. The single worst phrase we can ever hear in sales is, I want to think it over. I will take a no any day over an I want to think it over because at least a no liberates me to move on. Most salespeople struggle to sell because most sales opportunities never end. They just drag on and on and on in Never Never Land. It's time to make this stop. In this video, I'm going to teach you 3 ways to avoid I want to think it overs. Check it out. Number 1, stop trying to get yes. Now this may sound counterintuitive, but here's the reason. Prospects immediately sense when you are trying to get a yes from them. They can immediately sense it and they feel tremendous pressure. So stop trying to persuade them to do business with you. Instead, determine whether there's a fit in the first place. By focusing your conversation on determining whether there's a fit as opposed to trying to persuade them to say yes, you are going to find that your prospects are suddenly much more open to what you have to say, and they're actually, interestingly enough, much more likely to actually say yes. Number 2, understand specific challenges. When we focus on how great our offering is, we never know if we're actually a fit. Because what we're trying to do is, just like I said in the last tip, we're trying to get them to say yes. Instead, focus the first part of the selling situation on their challenges. Really understand if they actually need and want what we offer. Learn about what's going on, focus on them as opposed to us. Number 3, know their decision-making process up front. Not knowing a prospect's decision-making process before the presentation is death in sales. You've probably been in a selling situation before where everything seemed like it was going well. You gave the presentation and then suddenly they tell you, oh, well, actually I have to run this by 7 people who you would otherwise never heard about before. We want to know exactly who is involved, what their process is, and when they intend to make that decision before we ever get close to a presentation. And you do this simply by asking. This is going to save you a lot of frustration in the future. So there are 3 ways to avoid I want to think it overs. I want to hear from you. Which of these ideas did you find most useful? Be sure to just share in the comment section right below and I will respond to every single comment that I can get to. And if you enjoyed this video, click right here for a free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goal. Seriously, it is an amazing book and it's free. Just click right here to get that free ebook. Also, if you got some value out of this video, please like this video below on YouTube because that really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking right here, that little red button, to get access to a new video just like this one each week. The old school sales trainers love to tell us that what we need to do is build rapport with our prospects. They'll tell us things like, they need to like you, or people buy from people they like. But you know what? This is focusing on exactly the wrong aspect of a relationship. It's not about them liking you. Instead, we need to focus on building a connection with a prospect. This means creating a relationship built on trust and respect. Once you have both of those, you are now in that category of trusted advisor. It's all about connection. In this video, I'm going to show you 4 easy steps to immediately connect with any prospect in sales. Check it out. Number 1, open with a provocative question. You know what? Nobody trusts or respects the yes man, the person who will just say or do anything to make you happy, right? Think of those people in your own lives. Instead, we're far more trusting and respectful of people who challenge us to look at our goals and our challenges differently. Rather than open your conversations with the goal of making a new friend, provoke your prospect. Challenge them. For example, a client of mine in the healthcare technology space who sells directly to medical practices created this powerful opening sentence for prospects. He would say something like this: according to our research, 89% of patients nationally have a mediocre to poor experience with their medical practitioners. Many of our clients in this space struggle to effectively retain key patient data. They worry that doctors and staff don't enter in the most important information, or finally, they're just concerned about their patient experiences. Do any of these issues strike a chord with you? Now, think about what just happened in that opening statement. There was a lot of challenging of the prospect. It's throwing out some information, at the same time challenging them to think about what are the experiences they're creating for their patients. It really comes out swinging in a way and will really connect with a prospect who's experiencing those challenges. And by the way, if the prospect isn't experiencing those challenges for my client, then they're not a fit. So how can you become more provocative with your prospects? Number 2, drop the enthusiasm. Nothing turns off prospects more than something that sounds like this. Hey, how are you today? I'm so excited to meet with you and tell you all about how we can help your company. It screams cheesy salesperson. And sadly, this is what most salespeople are doing on some level. Here's a quick bonus challenge for you. Record your next few prospecting calls and listen for your sales voice. Notice, does your voice go up a few octaves when talking to prospects? If so, you need to drop that. It's killing your sales. Prospects immediately hear that sales voice. Instead, just focus on being totally genuine and real. No need to be smooth and polished. This is actually refreshing to prospects to talk to a real person. This is going to help you immediately connect with your prospect. Number 3, make it all about them. Let me ask you a question. Who is the only person your prospect cares about? Themselves. Let me ask you another question. Who do most salespeople focus on? Themselves. This, unfortunately, is a disconnect because each actor in this scene is concerned with a different person. It's really true, and this is a major problem, and it's happening every day. You may say, wait, Mark, I'm not focused on myself. I can prove that chances are you are. Let's just do a quick exercise. Pretend that I'm a prospect and just answer the following question. Why should I do business with you? Now, pause the video and just write down how you would respond to this question. Why should I do business with you? Pause the video, write it down. All right, we're back, and hopefully you did the exercise. Now let me ask you a question. Did you talk about your product or service, or did you talk about the prospect? Now, great salespeople are 100% focused on the prospect, not on what they sell or on their company. This is the key to connection. Number 4, dig into their challenges. Like I said before, prospects only care about themselves. And more specifically, they only care about the challenges that they're actually facing. So when you're talking to a prospect, the only importance you have to them is your ability to help them solve their challenges. Period. So when talking to prospects, focus completely on the challenges that they face. Ask questions to dig deeply into those challenges and how they're affecting the prospect or their organization. When you get to this level, that, by the way, few salespeople ever get to, you become the doctor, the true expert. You have now built a deep connection built on trust and respect. So there are 4 easy steps to immediately connect with any prospect. I want to hear from you. Which of these steps did you find most useful? Be sure to share below in the comments section, and I'll be sure to respond to every comment that I can get to. And if you enjoyed this video, then I have this awesome free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goals. Just click right here to get it instantly. Seriously, it's an amazing book and it's free. Just click right here. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube because that really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe by clicking right here to get access to a new video just like this one each week. Lastly, if you got just one useful idea from this video, please share it with a friend or two. A great idea is the best gift you can give someone. Until next week. You want to close more sales, right? I know you do. We all do. But there are hard ways to close more sales, and then there are quick and easy ways. And personally, I prefer the latter. Given that I work with so many salespeople and I get to constantly see what's really working, I want to show you what I see truly working in today's economy, in today's marketplace where so much has changed. So in this video, I'm going to show you 11 very quick tips to close more sales. Check it out. Number 1, drop the old school enthusiasm. Your prospects are immediately turned off by salespeople that are overly enthusiastic. And this is because over the past 70 years, all of the old school sales guru trainers have taught salespeople to be really excited, enthusiastic, and passionate about their offering. The problem, though, is that it comes off as truly very old school, and your prospects immediately want to end the interaction. So drop that enthusiasm, and you will see that you'll close far more sales really quickly. Number 2, focus on them. Your prospect cares about one person, and that person is not you, it's them. So change that interaction to focus rather than on ourselves, on them. Most salespeople are going out and talking about how their company has been doing business for the past 100 years, or that their offering is the best offering out there, or that they are the most experienced. Whatever it is, the focus is typically on the salesperson. Instead, change the focus to the prospect. If you do that, you're going to find that the prospect is far more likely to want to engage with you. Number 3, share best practices of what you see working and not working in the marketplace. You have an amazing bird's eye view of what's going on in the lives of your prospects because you're seeing many, many, many of them all at the same time. So by sharing the best practices of what you see not only working, but also what you see people trying and not working, you are going to be perceived as the expert in the eyes of your prospects. And they're going to want that information. They're going to want to learn more from you. So by being willing to share those best practices, you're going to find that your prospects are much more interested in talking to you, and ultimately you'll close more sales. Number 4, engage prospects with questions about challenges. Now, so many salespeople are asking questions in today's world. Everyone knows that we should be asking questions. But what's interesting is that salespeople are rarely asking good questions pertaining to challenges. Questions like, tell me about the biggest challenge that you're facing right now with regards to whatever it is that you deal with. If you ask questions about the prospect's challenges, they're going to be much more likely to actually open up because prospects want to solve those challenges. And so by engaging your prospects around their challenges rather than the solutions you offer, you're going to have much more effective conversations. Number 5, learn the cost of those challenges. Now, this is one of my biggest passions in sales, is really understanding the cost of your prospect's challenges. If you can understand what particular challenges are costing a prospect, you are immediately creating value. And value leads to more closed sales. So once you understand your prospect's challenges, then it's time to ask a question like, what would you say these challenges are costing you or are costing your organization? By getting that answer, you are immediately creating value for the solution that you provide. And you'll close a lot more sales. Number 6, get a budget. This is one of the most controversial issues in sales. And I see a lot of the old school sales gurus who are out there right now saying, don't ask for a budget. Your prospect is never going to give you a budget. And I hear salespeople saying to me, oh, I tried asking for a budget once. It didn't work. Here's the thing. People who are asking for budgets and not getting budgets are not doing it right. It's that simple. I have, over the course of my career, asked for budgets thousands of times. And I almost always get a budget. Of course, there are those few cases where you just don't get a budget. But simply the process of asking for a budget is going to get the prospect to start to really think about what's the value of a solution to these challenges. So again, we started by laying out what are the challenges, and then what do those challenges cost? And now it's about, George, what could you see investing in order to solve these challenges? By asking questions pertaining to budget, you are going to get the prospect, in most cases, to lead with what they're actually willing to invest. This is going to allow you to close far more sales because you're not going to just be hitting people over the head with a price. Instead, it's what are they willing to actually invest? Number 7, be willing to walk always. This is one of the most controversial points that I make about selling. If you are not willing to walk away from a prospect, you are at a disadvantage. At least 50% of the prospects that you come across are not a good fit for you, and you're not a good fit for them. It could mean that they don't have enough money. It could mean that they just don't simply have the challenges that you solve. They may be dealing with many other issues right now, and this is not a priority. Whatever the reason for not doing business, don't be afraid of that. Embrace that. Be willing to walk away from any selling situation if you determine that it's not a fit. It's only the old school sales guy or sales gal that's saying, I can sell ice to an Eskimo. Eskimos don't need ice. They have plenty of ice. Find people that actually want and need what you sell and be willing to walk away from those who are not a good fit. Number 8, get commitment before presenting. One of the biggest mistakes that I see in sales is that salespeople are quick to give that presentation. But if your prospect is not committed to really solving the challenges that they have, then there's no point in presenting a solution, right? It would be like a doctor who is dealing with a patient who may have a little bit of knee pain, but it's not severe, and saying, hey, well, we have this incredible procedure called arthroscopic surgery, right? It doesn't make sense. You don't need surgery if the knee is not hurting. So be sure that you get commitment, not necessarily to work with you, but commitment to solve the challenges that they've identified before you ever get into presenting your solution. By doing that, you're going to close a lot more sales because you're going to be focused on only presenting to those people who have shown some commitment to dealing with those challenges. Number 9, Give 3 options in any proposal. This is a simple change that will make all the difference in selling. Most salespeople, when they provide a proposal, are providing only one option to that prospect. And it is ridiculous for us to assume that we know exactly what the prospect is going to want. Some prospects are going to just want the bare minimum. Others are going to want the absolute premium option. Provide prospects with 3 different options in every proposal, ranging from maybe a lower end alternative that's still going to solve those challenges all the way up to the real premium option with all the bells and whistles. And what you're going to find is it's going to do 2 things. One is that you're going to sell a lot of those premium options that you otherwise might not have even shown a prospect in the first place. You're going to actually sell those. You're going to close those sales. But the other is that by providing 3 options in a proposal, you're providing context. You're providing optionality by which a prospect can make a decision. And so they're going to be a lot less likely to feel like they have to go out and shop for other alternatives out there because you've provided them with 3 different options. Really powerful distinction that's going to lead to really powerful distinction that's going to lead to you closing more sales and closing bigger sales. Number 10, always establish a next meeting during the current meeting. This is an easy one. Really easy, but I'm still in my coaching calls with clients, I find that so often a salesperson will tell me, oh yeah, well, I presented my proposal and then it kind of just fell apart. And I always ask, well, did you set the next meeting during that proposal meeting or during that presentation meeting? And so often they say, oh no, I didn't. I just figured that I would call them in a week or so. Here's the thing. When you leave unclear next steps available to a prospect, things fall apart. Always set the next meeting during your current meeting. Whether you are in an early discovery meeting, set that meeting for that presentation meeting. And if you're in that presentation meeting, you don't necessarily have to meet again, but it could mean that you're going to have a scheduled phone call. Schedule every next step. It's going to lead to far more closed sales. Number 11. I actually don't have enough fingers, so number 11, ask for introductions at the point of sale. This is a really simple step that very few salespeople actually implement. When you close a sale, a customer, this is a new customer, and they're excited about you. This is a time when they're actually going to be very inclined to want to introduce you to other people like themselves who you might be able to help. So when you close the sale, be sure to ask them for introductions and referrals at the point of closing the sale. So as soon as that sale is closed, it's time to ask for those introductions. Now they may not introduce you right away, but you are then going to plant the seed for them to start thinking about who could they introduce you to. And what you'll find is that actually a lot of your customers, your new customers, are going to want to introduce you to others just like themselves because they've just made this exciting decision to work with you. That is a beautiful time to set up asking for introductions. So there are 11 very quick tips to close more sales. I want to hear from you. Which of these quick tips did you find most useful? Be sure to share below in the comments section, and I will be sure to respond to every comment that I can get to. And if you enjoyed this video, then I have an incredible free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goal. It's this ebook. It's unbelievable. All you have to do is just click right here to get it instantly. Seriously, it's an amazing book and it's free. Just click right here to get it instantly. Also, if you got some value from this video, please like this video below on YouTube because that really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking right here to get access to a new video just like this one each week. And lastly, if you got just one useful idea from this video, please share it with a friend or two. A great idea is the best gift you can give someone. Until next week. Do you know how long it takes a prospect to decide whether they want to stay on the phone with you or get off? The data shows us that it's around 7 seconds. And then after those first 7 seconds, they will continue to ask themselves if they want to eject until they're engaged. Now, this means that you need an approach to starting a conversation that will both separate you from the hordes of other salespeople out there and engage your prospect immediately. So whether you're making a cold call, responding to a lead, or following up on a referral, if it's the first time that you get on the phone with this person, you need an approach that sets you apart and engages. And just as importantly, it needs to be completely scripted out so you never ramble or fumble around. In this video, I'm going to show you the perfect 5-step sales prospecting call opening. Check it out. Step 1, have a distinct start. This isn't just about your words, but rather how you speak them. Remember that most salespeople start off their calls enthusiastically and with a, "Hey, how are you today?" This is the kiss of death because it screams salesperson. Instead, I want you to start your calls off with a very low-key, mellow approach. And it doesn't have to be polished. This is going to dramatically set you apart from all of your competitors out there. Part 2, get quick permission distinctly. Now is where we get into the actual words. Instead of the standard, "Hey, how are you today?" it's time to flip the script completely. Instead, try opening with something like this. "Hi, George. Marc Wayshak calling. Did I catch you in the middle of something there?" Now, notice my tonality and the unpolished nature of my voice. Notice that I didn't say, "Hey, is this a great time?" But instead, I said, "Did I catch you in the middle of something?" The prospect is not going to expect this and will be forced to think about what to say next. This is a really important piece. Number 3, give a brief explanation. After you've received permission to continue, now it's time to very briefly introduce yourself. Just one short sentence. You know, here is actually the point where most salespeople give a whole paragraph, just jabbering and going on in different directions. But you are going to just give one very brief sentence about yourself. And I'll demonstrate what my call, for example, might sound like from here on. So my approach might be here. My company is a sales strategy firm that helps mid-size organizations dramatically increase sales. Nothing magical, short and sweet, but gives enough context so they're not confused and they at least know a little bit about me. Number 4, common challenges you see. Now it's time to really suck them in and show them that you know what's going on in their world. Remember, this isn't about you, it's about them. So my approach might sound something like this. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of companies in your space that are struggling to attract top-tier prospects into their pipeline. They're worried about changes in the selling environment, or finally, they're just frustrated with the lack of sales results. Now, again, those are the challenges that I might use for my prospects. The challenges that you would list off would be, of course, specific to you and your industry. Number 5, engage. Now that you've listed off the 3 challenges that you see consistently in your marketplace, it's time to tie it all together and get them talking. So this is where you might say something like, "Do any of these issues sound familiar to you?" Now, this simple question asked in a non-confrontational way is going to engage the prospect. So this is where you really start to get them talking. And once they're talking, they're no longer thinking about getting off the phone. The call is now off to the races. So there is the perfect 5-step sales prospecting call opening. I want to hear from you. Which of these ideas did you find most useful? Be sure to share below in the comments section to get involved in the conversation. And if you enjoyed this video, then I have this awesome free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goals. Just click right here. Seriously, it's an amazing book and it's free. Just click right here. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube because that really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe by clicking right here to get access to a new video just like this one each and every week. And salespeople are constantly asking me how they should handle this objection or that objection. And what I find is the 5 most common objections sound something like this. Number 1, your price is too high. Number 2, this just isn't the right time. Number 3, I really need to think this over. Number 4, I don't have the budget for this. Or number 5, I could get a better price from your competitor. Those are the common objections, and people are always saying, how do I deal with these? But my response is always the same. You're probably not going to like what I tell you. And you know what? You probably won't like what I'm about to tell you either. But it is unquestionably the single best way to handle any of these common objections. So fasten your seatbelt and be ready to change the way that you even think about handling objections. In this video, I'm going to show you the number 1 way to handle the 5 most common objections. Check it out. Again, let's re-examine the 5 most common objections. First, your price is too high. Second, this just isn't the right time. Third, I need to think this over. Fourth, I don't have the budget for this. And fifth, I can get a better price from your competitor. Now, everyone wants to know what they say when a prospect says this, but I'm going to show you something far more important. How to actually avoid hearing those objections in the first place. The number 1 way to handle these objections is to avoid these objections in the first place by ultimately helping your prospect articulate the value of solving their challenges. When you accomplish this, you avoid most of those objections from ever being said. So this means doing the following. First, get the prospect's challenges on the table. Ask questions to help the prospect articulate what is holding them back from optimal success in relation to whatever it is you sell. So that means if you sell things that help for operations or marketing or sales or finance or data or whatever, challenges with regards to that. Be sure to help the prospect clarify those top 3 issues, really fully understanding exactly first what they are and then how they affect the organization and the individual. Next, you want to ask what it would mean in dollars if they were able to solve those challenges. My challenge to you is get big numbers. Don't settle for little dinky numbers. Really dig into this. Be sure to include things like the opportunity cost of what they're losing right now as a result of not fixing those challenges. I hope you can see at this point that this is ultimately helping the prospect articulate the value of your solution without, by the way, ever talking about your offering yet. Next, we don't want to accept the first number we hear. We really want to get big numbers. I can't say this too many times. This is where you want to really push the prospect to be sure that they are fully understanding the opportunity cost of not changing, of not switching, and of ultimately not working with you, although you would never put it that way. And you do this by asking questions. You never tell them you're always asking. So ultimately, the cost of their challenges should be at least 10 times the cost of your solution. And if you can't get to that ratio, you're going to ultimately be in trouble when it comes to presentation time, and you're likely to start to get some of those objections. So this is the step to really hang in on until you've helped the prospect actually articulate that lost opportunity. So if you did this step correctly, you're going to dramatically avoid the vast majority of the objections that we talked about in the first place. But I know many people watching this are saying, okay, I did that, but I'm still getting that objection. Now it's time to reference back to the dollar value. So you can see why we've gone through this process. Now that you've created the value and you've gotten some dollars around it, now you have to reference back to it. So let's just imagine the prospect still, after this prospect says, your price is too high. Now you respond with, well, help me understand why you say that. We really want to get a clear sense of why the prospect is actually pushing back. Don't assume that you know why. And then, once you really understand, then reference back to the cost of the challenges that they mentioned. Say something like, you mentioned that the cost of this challenge was in that $5 million range. Is that still true? They say, yes. Your response is, then what do you think is a reasonable budget to fix a $5 million problem? help me understand what I might have missed. And now, coming out of the role, let's still say you're not getting on the same page with price. Then you might say something like, well, in order to really solve this issue, the type of budget you would need is X. That being the case, is this conversation over? Now, I know some people are saying, whoa, that's pretty aggressive. That's pretty tough. Well, you've got to be tough with prospects when you're getting price issues. You don't have to be difficult, and you can do it in a gentle way. You can caress that tough love, but you really have to hang in there. So there is the number one way to handle the 5 most common objections. I want to hear from you. Which of these ideas did you find most useful? Be sure to share below in the comments section to get involved in the conversation. And if you enjoyed this video, then I have this awesome free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goals. Just click right here. Seriously, it's an amazing book and it's free. Just click right here. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube because that really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe by clicking right here to get access to a new video just like this one each and every week. I have something that I need to get off my chest, and it is this, that most sales trainers out there are spreading lies. Wait, I know that sounds really mean, but let me explain. Most sales trainers out there are sharing old school, out-of-date ideas. In fact, these old school sales trainers aren't bad people per se. They just got their information from a time when cars didn't have seatbelts. The payphone was a salesperson's best friend, and the web was a thing created by spiders. Seriously, even books written now mostly repackage and regurgitate ideas from a bygone era. As a result, what they're telling us simply doesn't work. It really is a lie because they're claiming that these ideas work. Let's face it, the information we are receiving is mostly lies. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 deadly lies every salesperson has been told by sales trainers. Check it out. Number 1, great salespeople have the gift of gab. This one really rubs me the wrong way on so many levels. I still to this day hear hiring managers telling me all the time that this person is a really strong candidate. He's just such a good talker. Ugh! This couldn't be more ridiculous. In fact, quite the opposite is often true. Many of the best salespeople I've ever worked with were introverts. Instead of having all of these things to say, they knew to focus completely on the prospect, and they were strategic. So instead of using the gift of gab, ask questions of your prospect to engage them. Let them do the talking, and leave the gab for after work. Number 2, always be closing. The ABCs of selling still haunt us today. You may remember the scene in Glengarry Glen Ross where Alec Baldwin actually writes on a chalkboard, always be closing. This scene was actually meant to spoof on boiler room sales organizations. It was making fun of them. Yet somehow so many people who watched that movie walked away believing that they still have to always be closing. It's ridiculous. Instead of trying to close all the time, take the time to understand your prospects and ask questions to dig into their challenges. There's no need for the high-pressure close. Let the quality of your questions help the prospect close themselves. Or if they aren't a fit, disqualify them and move on. Number 3, overcome objections. I read an email from a sales guru just the other day that said, here are 13 objections you must be prepared to overcome. Are you serious? This implies that sales is really just an arm wrestling match. If I'm stronger than you in selling, then I win. If you're stronger than me, prospect, then you win. This old school crap needs to be called out for what it is, lies. Instead of trying to overcome objections, do a thorough job up front of asking questions to determine their challenges, their budget, their decision-making process, those key factors that you need to know before you ever even get to a presentation or get to a close. This is going to help you avoid ever having to deal with those objections in the first place. Number 4, never take no for an answer. I was recently speaking to a senior VP of sales at a major consumer brand that you've heard of and probably use their product. And he said to me, I really don't ever want my salespeople to take no for an answer. Remember, this isn't some schlub just saying this. It's the sales leader of a massive sales-driven organization. And he couldn't be more wrong. No is a fantastic thing. And anyone who tells you otherwise is truly ignorant or just a liar. I want prospects to feel okay to give me a no. This is actually going to lead to far more yeses. The problem is that most salespeople do everything in their power to avoid a no. And as a result, they're actually getting a lot of, gee, let me think about it, or as we call them, think it overs. So go out and get no's. And as a result, you're actually going to get a lot more yeses. Number 5, anyone can be your customer. You've probably heard the phrase, she can sell ice to an Eskimo. Have you heard that before? It actually saddens me that people think that this is a compliment. Let's just break it down for a second. Literally, if we were to start an ice business where we sold ice, would we really want to find prospects in cold climates? Of course not. We'd want to go to the warmest place where people have money. That is the mindset you need to have. Don't try to make anyone your customer. Instead, focus on selling only to people who will need what you have and can afford it. So there are 5 deadly lies every salesperson has been told by sales trainers. Which of these lies have you been told before? I want to hear from you. Be sure to share below in the comments section, and I will be sure to respond to every comment that I can get to. And if you enjoyed this video, then I have this awesome free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goals. Just click right here to get it instantly. Seriously, it's an amazing book and it's free. Just click right here. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube because that really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe by clicking right here to get access to a new video just like this one each week. Lastly, if you got just one useful idea from this video, please share it with a friend or two. A great idea is the best gift you can give someone. Until next week. We all know that there are different types of salespeople out there. But having worked with literally thousands of different salespeople, I've discovered 4 key types and their strengths and weaknesses. And there is one type in particular that outperforms all of the others out there. Do you know which type you are? In this video, I'm going to show you the 4 types of salespeople out there and how each one can improve. Check it out. All right, so we have magically moved into my conference room here, and I want to share with you the 4 types based on 2 criteria. The first criteria is how strategic is someone? If they're highly strategic, then they're going to be up here. And if they're not strategic, then they're down here. And on the other axis, we have pioneering. So on the one hand, they're really going out and they're pioneering. On the other hand, they're not. They're staying in and they're not doing any pioneering. And so within this matrix, we have 4 different types that I tend to see. And I'm going to walk you through each type really quickly. The first that we'll focus on is the relationship builder, because I think this is the type of person that a lot of folks have idolized over the many years, and this is what a lot of salespeople tend to fall into. They are strategic, so they have good relationships, but they're not pioneering. And so these people tend to have a lot of strong relationships and they've developed a lot of trust, but on the other hand, they're not going out and identifying new customers, identifying new prospects, and so they're vulnerable. The next person that we'll look at is the hunter. This is a person that I hear a lot of business owners saying, oh, we want more hunters in our business, on our sales team. But the problem with a hunter is that, yes, they're doing a lot of prospecting, but they tend to not be very strategic. And so as a result, they're doing a lot of that prospecting, but they're not asking for those introductions. They're not necessarily going after those biggest opportunities. And so at the end of the day, they tend to burn out and they're not in sales for that long. Another category is the farmer. The farmer is the person who ultimately is going to go broke because they are not strategic and they're not pioneering. And so this is the person who's staying in their office. They're not doing what they need to be doing, but they're also not strategic. And so we, of course, never want to be in the farmer category. If you see yourself as a farmer right now, chances are it's time to move on to a new career because you're going to be in trouble. Lastly is the strategist. The strategist is, if you are right now a relationship builder or a hunter, you can either move up into the strategist category or you can move over into the strategist category. This person is both strategic and is pioneering. We all want to be in the strategist category. This is a person who is going to think through a selling situation where they will leverage their existing contacts. They develop strong relationships with their clients and they get introductions to new prospects and customers. But on the other hand, they're still consistently doing the prospecting activities that they need to do in order to close sales. So moving forward, we want to make it a goal that we are now in the strategist category. And if, by the way, if you find yourself in the hunter or the relationship builder category, start to think about what you need to do in order to move over into this category. So there are the 4 sales types. I want to hear from you. Which category do you feel that you most fit into? Maybe it's a little bit of both. Be sure to share below in the comments section and I will be sure to get to every single comment that I possibly can. And if you enjoyed this video or you got value, be sure to click right here to get a free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goals. Seriously, it's an amazing book and it's free. Just click right here. Also, if you got some value out of this video, please like it on YouTube because that really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking right here in order to get access to a new video just like this one each and every week. And lastly, if you got just one useful idea, please share this with a friend or 2 by forwarding it on to someone. The best gift you can give to someone is a great idea. Thank you so much. Terry was a sales rep at a company that sold parts to automakers. She had been selling for years and steadily increased sales by about 10 to 15% each year. Of course, with the one exception being the year that the auto industry collapsed. But other than that, pretty modest, consistent growth. But she also knew that she could sell so much more. But her question was, how do I get in front of those best prospects? By the time that we had met, her annual sales were about $8.3 million. She was one of the top 5 reps at her company, but she was still just getting by with her commissions. After implementing this strategy, which I'm about to share with you, Terry's annual sales were at $17.9 million just 1 year later. She was now the top rep by far in her organization, earning more than double what she had the year before. In this video, I'm going to show you the can't fail strategy that helped Terry increase sales by 215%. Check it out. The strategy that Terry used to dramatically increase her sales was the prospecting campaign. And I'm going to lay out the steps for you to follow through exactly with what she did and, of course, how you can implement this same exact strategy. Number 1. She identified about 10 ideal prospects. So for Terry, there was a small universe of prospects. So this part was relatively easy. She laid out her list of top 10 people that she wanted to meet with. Notice that I said people, not companies. She figured out and identified exactly who those top 10 people were at those key organizations. You need to identify exactly who you would want to meet with at each of your target companies. 2, she mapped out the entire prospecting process. No more haphazard prospecting calls. Cold calls are out too. Terry mapped out exactly when and how she was going to reach each of those prospects before she ever even contacted them. Everything was strategic and calculated. Number 3, she focused on making 7 very unique prospect touches. So with Terry, she brainstormed the 7 different ways that she could actually touch a prospect. By the way, this does not include calls or emails, in order to get on their radar. And at the same time, really present real value. Number 4, she had packages and letters to send to prospects. So as part of these 7 touches, Terry put together some special reports, samples, case study letters, handwritten notes, and even invitations to special events. The key was that everything she sent to the prospect provided value to that prospect. And eventually they had to start remembering her. 5, she used FedEx. This may sound like a plug for a particular company, and maybe it is, but they're not paying me. The reason I say to use FedEx is that everyone opens up a FedEx package. Everyone, even the CEO of an organization. Everyone's curious. This meant that the prospects, when Terry was sending her packages, they had to open up the package. They actually saw what she was sending. Number 6, she followed up on each touch with a planned mix of calls and emails. Notice that by this point, there is no cold calling. The prospects would know who Terry was. They would often reference what she had sent to them because it stood out to them. They were far more open to hearing from her and responding. Number 7, know exactly what your entire process will look like. Terry knew every single step and she had scripted out each part. It was truly a campaign with different steps as opposed to a random assortment of outreaches. Number 8, rinse, wash, repeat. Some of the prospects were responsive to her. Others weren't. But she didn't just stop there. She kept on with the people who didn't respond. And in the cases where there was no response whatsoever, she added new people to her list. By the way, many of the new people were simply contacts at the same organization, but with a different title. So she was able to focus still on that same list of prospects, but maybe a different person. She did the same exact campaign all over again, but with the new contact. As a result of this process, Terry was able to set meetings with those key prospects who ultimately made major purchases, amounting to a 215% increase in sales that year. So there is the can't fail strategy that helped Terry increase sales by 215%. I want to hear from you. Which of these ideas did you find most useful? Be sure to share below in the comment section, and I'll be sure to respond to every comment that I can get to. And if you enjoyed this video, then I have this awesome free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goals. Just click right here to get it instantly. Seriously, it's an amazing book and it's free. Just click right here. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube because that really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe by clicking right here to get access to a new video just like this one each week. Lastly, if you got just one useful idea from this video, please share it with a friend or two. A great idea is the best gift you can give someone. Until next week. Are you an expert at what you sell? Let me phrase it another way. Do you know more about what you sell than your typical prospect? If so, then you are an expert. But Do your prospects look at you as the expert? Do they trust you as an equal, as an advisor? If not, then it means one thing. You are coming off as salesy. Now, fortunately, there are some powerful strategies that will help you to avoid this trap and truly become the expert to your prospects. In this video, I'm going to show you how to come off as the expert with any prospect in sales. Check it out. Stop thinking like a salesperson. You know what? Salespeople are typically jumping at any opportunity to pitch themselves. Prospect says, you know what? I have this challenge. The salesperson says, well, you know what? We have the solution to your challenge. They're focused on closing any opportunity. Instead, stop thinking like a normal salesperson and really work to identify if there really is a fit. Immediately, you're going to find that your prospects look at you as a true expert. No more pep. Now, by pep, I mean persuasion, enthusiasm, and pitching. Prospects will immediately be repelled by anyone who's using this approach. Hey, Terry, Marc Wayshak, and I'd like to show you the 11 reasons why you should work with me. Hey, Terry, my name is Marc Wayshak, and I'd like to show you the 11 reasons why you should work with me. Doctor's mindset. Now, when you walk into a doctor's office with an issue, does she try to sell you? No, of course not, right? A doctor doesn't say, well, you know what? We have this incredible new procedure. It's going to change everything for you. Of course not. She diagnoses you. She asks questions about what's going on, where it's hurting. It's time to start to think like a doctor, not a salesperson. And you're going to notice that your prospects see you more as an expert. Don't need the sale. Now, we've all been at that place in life where we really need to close the sale in order to pay rent or to cover some mortgage payment. But even in situations where you believe that you need to close a sale, you can never let the prospect know that. In fact, you need to believe during every sales opportunity that you are financially independent and don't need the business. If you come off as successful and confident and not needing the business, the prospect will actually be far more attracted to you. Be willing to disqualify. Throughout all the years of research in sales, I have found that at least 50% of prospects that you come across will not be a fit. Would you agree with that? There are a lot of different reasons. Some of your prospects won't have enough money. Some just won't be the right decision maker. Some simply won't have the right types of challenges that you solve. Regardless, you need to be willing to disqualify people who aren't a fit. This really means moving on from people and never looking back. The beautiful thing about this is that it allows you to spend more of your time with the right prospects. The best salespeople spend the majority of their time with qualified prospects. And this requires a willingness to walk away. It's something that your prospects will sense and respect, and ultimately treat you like an expert. Only do 15% of the talking. Do you talk more than 15% of the time when you're with prospects? If so, you're talking too much. The expert salesperson is asking questions of the prospect to get the prospect to do most of the talking. When you have the prospect talking, who's in control? You are. Plus, it allows you to really understand what's motivating them, thus putting you in that level, that category of expert. So there is how to come off as the expert with any prospect. I want to hear from you. Which of these ideas did you find most useful? Be sure to share below in the comments section, and I will be sure to respond to every comment that I can get to. And if you enjoyed this video, then I have this awesome free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goals. Just click right here to get it instantly. Seriously, it's an amazing book and it's free. Just click right here. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube because that really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe by clicking right here to get access to a new video just like this one each week. Lastly, if you got just one useful idea from this video, please share it with a friend or two. A great idea is the best gift you can give someone. Until next week. There are good salespeople, and then there are rich salespeople. Let me tell you about Phil. Phil is a salesperson at an insurance company, and he had been there for a little over 10 years and was earning $700,000 per year in commissions. Yes, $700,000. The average salesperson at his organization earned $75,000 per year. Phil was what I call a rich salesperson. He's not an employee, although technically he is. Nobody manages Phil, although he does technically have a manager. Phil is the master of his own destiny because he's so successful, and the organization literally would be at a loss without him. He earned more than the CEO. This is a small category of salespeople who earn high six figures or even seven figures in commissions, but they have a whole lot in common with one another. In fact, I have found that they all share the same few qualities. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 critical qualities of the richest salespeople. Check it out. Number 1, they're willing to sell to the top. No time wasted with non-decision makers. If you cannot make a decision, then these salespeople are not going to try to sell to you. This is the mindset of any rich salesperson. Just remember that their hourly rate is literally in the hundreds of dollars per hour, more than some of the top lawyers at a New York City law firm. So some low-level prospect is actually costing them money to talk to. From now on, sell only to the top. Number 2, they focus on making bigger sales, not more sales. This is one of the biggest misconceptions about top salespeople in general. Most people think that the best salespeople are closing more sales. It's wrong. It's just not true. They close much bigger sales. While most salespeople in a given organization are going to close similar size deals, typically in the middle of the average sales size, top salespeople are going after the whales. They're going after the big guys. Big sales often require the same amount of work, but the payout can be many times more. Number 3, they only focus on what will make them money. There are tasks that you do each day that make you money, and then there are tasks that you do that do not make you money. Rich salespeople get very clear on what makes them money, and they only do that. They outsource. Selling to other businesses can be both lucrative and rewarding, but it can also be really tough if you're not showing value. A business prospect is always thinking one thing when talking to salespeople. Is this person creating value for me? If not, then you're done. In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 tips to close more B2B sales. Check it out. Number 1, clarify your value proposition. When someone asks you what you do, you absolutely must have a quick and rehearsed response. When you start a call, do you know exactly how to describe what you do? If not, you're dead in the water. It's time to actually script out and memorize your value proposition. It is, by the way, the only part of your business from a sales perspective that you have to actually memorize. Number 2, focus on their challenges. Most salespeople in a B2B space are still selling the features and benefits of their products or services. But the problem is that prospects don't buy features and benefits anymore. There was a time when this worked, but no longer. Prospects now buy solutions to their challenges. So if there's no challenge, then there is no sale. It is time to start seeking to really understand their challenges and what's going on in their world. Number 3, get face-to-face. There's been a big movement towards inside sales forces. And I think in some cases that can be fine because it is very efficient. But for companies that are still selling expensive products or services, I mean the high-end products or services that really require a serious investment, you absolutely must get face-to-face with your prospects. You may think that's old school, but actually it's new school because most of your competitors are still trying to close sales on the phone or without getting face-to-face. It's time to sit eyeball to eyeball with a prospect, and what you'll find is that you are going to increase your close rate many times over. Just get in the car or on that plane and don't worry about those expenses. Get out there and meet your prospects face-to-face. Number 4, be proud of your premium pricing. Low price does not make good prospects want to buy. Low price makes the worst kinds of prospects want to buy. Own your premium price point in the market. It's not about dropping your price because a good prospect doesn't care about your price. They care about the value that you're providing to them. So instead of focusing on price, focus on the real value that you provide to your customers and your clients. Number 5, offer 3 option proposals. So what I mean by that is that every single proposal should have 3 different options. Most of your competitors, and probably the person watching this video right now, is used to just providing one option. I have a client named Alan who for years struggled to build his business. But then, after 3 simple tweaks to his selling, his business exploded after only 6 months. In this video, I'm going to teach you 3 B2B sales tips that work right now. Check it out. Number 1, sell to the highest level decision maker possible. Most salespeople are out there right now selling to prospects with titles like buyer or purchasing manager. These people can rarely tell you yes, but they are very good at telling you no. They may be easier to get in front of up front, and they may be more comfortable to speak to, but the reality is you will make far less money selling to people that are low-level buyers. Instead, sell to those highest-level decision makers. Make sure that you're actually selling to a person who can tell you yes. Number 2, sell results and outcomes. Your prospects don't buy your product or service. I say this all the time, and it sounds strange, but it is very true. Think about it. Is your prospect out there right now thinking to themselves, gee, I would love to buy so-and-so's product or service? No, of course not. What they care about are the results and outcomes that your product or service can actually create in their world. All they care about is what this means to them. So instead, change your focus from focusing on all the great features and benefits that my product or service have to what does this really mean to them. If you start speaking that language, suddenly you are not only going to stand out from your competition, but your prospect is going to look at you and say, wow, this person really understands what I need. Number 3, provide 3 options in your proposals. When I first started working with Alan, his proposals consisted of one option, which is common. Most salespeople put their proposals together with simply one option. The problem with this approach is that prospects are then likely to want to shop this around because they have no context. The other problem is that what if your prospect was looking for the absolute highest end option because they really wanted to invest in creating results or outcomes in this part of their business? You've only provided them with one option, so you're never going to be able to make those larger sales. By providing those 3 options in your proposals, you are now going to be able to create context for a decision. So a prospect is going to look at your proposal and say, okay, they put together 3 options from the lowest end option that's actually going to solve my problem all the way to the highest end option with the most value. You've now created context for that decision. They're going to be far less likely to shop around your proposal. The other thing is that we have now created a scenario where we're presenting the 3 different options. And very often your prospect who's really bought into the fact that they need to make a change in their business or their life as a result of your conversation, they're going to say, you know what, it makes sense to go with option 3, which is, by the way, your highest end option. It is your biggest option. It has the most value. You have now dramatically increased your sales size, and at the same time, you're going to increase your closing ratio. So there are the 3 B2B sales tips that work right now. By implementing these strategies in Alan's business, we were able to see a dramatic increase in sales in a very short period of time. I want to hear from you. Which of these 3 ideas did you find most useful? Be sure to just share below in the comment section, and I will get to every single comment. For more videos on B2B sales tips, just click right here, or visit marcwayshak.com, where you'll find a bunch of other great resources that will help you take your sales to the next level. In today's world of selling, where salespeople are distracted by things like social media, email, and all of the other technologies of the day, the phone is still the best prospecting tool out there. Just think about it. Because all of your competition is distracted by all of the other methods of connecting with your prospects, suddenly your prospects are getting fewer prospecting calls than they've ever received before. In this video, I'm going to teach you 5 super easy phone sales tips that work every single time. Check it out. Number 1, call prospects early or late. Your competition is typically calling between the hours of 9 and 11:30 or 1 and 5. This means that the real opportunity to actually getting through to your prospects is early in the morning, realistically before 8:30, or late in the evening, starting at around 5:30, 6 o'clock. Just think about the typical high-level prospect. Are they there in the office early in the morning? Are they there late at night? Absolutely. But who isn't there? The gatekeeper. Number 2, drop the enthusiasm. Nobody likes the, hey, how are you guy? Nobody. It's time when we're making our calls to completely drop that enthusiasm and just be genuine. Just start a call with a simple opening and keep that energy low, because prospects are immediately going to know that you're a salesperson the second you use lots of false enthusiasm. Number 3, pattern interrupt. The key is that when you're making a call, when you're starting that phone call initially, you want to switch it up. You want to use an opening that's going to break that pattern where they're going to expect you to sound like a salesperson. So something that sounds like this. Hey George, Marc Wayshak calling. Did I catch you in the middle of something there? Your prospect is not going to expect you to start with a line that sounds like that. Lower energy and phrased in a way that's a little bit different. Number 4, have contingencies. So often we'll start the call and the prospect will be really busy. Just think of what they're doing. They're typing, they're doing lots of things, and their goal is obviously going to be to get off the phone. If they try to get off, be gutsy, hang in there, have a contingency for when they say, you know what, actually I am in the middle of something. Something along the lines of, you know what, George, sounds totally fair. Would it be okay if I just took 30 seconds, told you why I called, and if after it doesn't make sense, you could feel free to hang up? Does that sound okay? Your prospect is going to immediately be caught off guard, and they're likely to give you that 30 seconds. Number 5, focus on challenges. Most salespeople are starting their calls off by talking about how great their product or service is. Instead, switch it up. Start your call by listing off 3 very common challenges that you're seeing prospects just like them facing, and find out if they are dealing with any of those same challenges. The prospect does not care about your product or service. They care about what they need to accomplish. So there are the 5 super easy phone sales tips that work every time. I want to hear from you. Which of those 5 ideas did you find most useful? Be sure to just share in the comments below, and I will respond to every single comment that I can get to. And for more videos on phone sales tips, click right here, or visit marcwayshak.com, where you'll find a bunch of other great resources that are going to help you take your sales to the next level. Most salespeople are making mistakes that are simply killing them. Sadly, they're so easy to avoid, yet few actually do. In this video, I'm going to teach you the 7 deadly mistakes that most salespeople make and how to avoid them. Check it out. Number 1, trying to be like everyone else. What everyone else is doing, I challenge you to do the exact opposite. When you are perceived as distinct from your competition, from everyone else, from the hordes of other salespeople that are banging on your prospect's door, you are going to be perceived as higher value. Number 2, focusing on yourself. Prospects don't care about you, they care about themselves. So stop worrying about trying to present yourself in the best light and instead just focus on them. Number 3, not showing value. Your prospects' challenges are costing them money. Find out what that cost is, and now you know what the value of your solution will be. Number 4, afraid to ask for a budget. Every prospect has a budget, and knowing that budget is going to save you lots and lots of time, and it's going to help you actually craft the right solution for them. So if they say they don't have a budget, hang in there. Give them a range of possible fees if you have to, but don't walk away without establishing a budget. Number 5, unwilling to drop the dead weight. I'm going to share with you the biggest difference between top salespeople and everyone else. It is that the top salespeople spend the majority of their time with well-qualified prospects. Now that sounds obvious, but what this requires is that great salespeople are willing to drop the prospects that aren't well qualified. They drop that dead weight. Number 6, presenting too early. Most salespeople start with the presentation and are ultimately shooting themselves in the foot. Instead, focus on your prospects' key challenges, objectives first, and then present the solution. Number 7, no specific next steps. Many salespeople get lost in between those different contacts. So schedule very specific next steps at the end of each interaction. So that way you never lose touch with the prospect. You always know exactly when you're going to connect next. So there are the 7 deadly mistakes that most salespeople make. I want to hear from you. Which of the ideas did you find most useful? Be sure to share below in the comments section and I will respond to every single comment. And if you enjoyed this video, click right here for a free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goal. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube. And finally, don't forget to subscribe by clicking that little subscribe button right there in order to get access to a new video just like this one each week. With all the distractions for salespeople, prospects are receiving far fewer phone calls than ever before. This is really a huge opportunity for you. While it's tough to actually get people on the phone, I fully acknowledge that these days it is tougher, it is by far the most effective way to get their attention. In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 super easy phone sales tips. Check it out. Number 1. Be the opposite of what's expected. So good prospects are, even though they're getting fewer calls than ever before, they're still getting calls all the time, and they're getting them every single day. So the second that you're like every other salespeople to call on that prospect, you are dead on arrival. And just think about it yourself, right? You're at home or you're at the office and you get a call and someone sounds like every other salesperson you've ever heard. How are you going to react? The wall will go right up. It's time to lower that enthusiasm and really be more distinct in your approach. How can you slip through the radar so the prospect is thinking to themselves, I'm not entirely sure up front that this is even a salesperson. Number 2, be provocative. One way to be distinct is by being provocative. Most salespeople have been taught that you always want to make the prospect feel good or you want to make the prospect excited. But actually nowadays, being provocative is more likely to get their attention. So try telling them about an issue that maybe they're facing, or tell them some of the challenges that you're seeing amongst their competitors and find out if they're dealing with any of those challenges. And finally, be willing to challenge them on the phone if they're pushing back. You don't have to be a softie. You don't have to be a pushover. You can be tough, and what that's going to do is set you apart from your competitors. Number 3, have contingencies. Most prospects are not going to want to stay on the phone with you right away. And a prospect that is difficult is going to scare off most salespeople. But if you're willing to hang in there and you're prepared to come back, it's actually one of the best ways to get to a really high quality prospect who's likely to push back and try to get you off the phone. So be ready to respond to someone who's trying to get you off the phone with a fallback. For example, if they tell you that they can't talk right now, try this. Say, all right, that sounds fair enough. There are many words in the English language that are critical for selling. However, there is one word that trumps them all. This little word helps us uncover more about our prospects than any other. Unfortunately, most salespeople use this word far too infrequently. In this video, I'm going to share with you the most important word in sales. Check it out. The word is why. This tiny word consisting of only 3 letters packs a huge punch. I'm going to share with you the 3 reasons and how to use it. Number 1, it helps us understand what's really going on with the prospect. Anytime your prospect says or asks something that you don't completely understand, just ask, why is that? Or why do you ask that? This helps you get right to the bottom of the issue. Number 2, it keeps us from getting to the solution too soon. Think of yourself as a doctor. When you go to a doctor's office, a doctor wants to learn as much as he or she possibly can before getting to the solution. So when you're in a selling situation, anytime a prospect says anything that seems of importance, you can simply ask, well, why do you say that? Number 3, this shows real interest in them. I say this all the time, but prospects only care about themselves. They don't care about us. And by asking why, this puts us on the same team with them because we're showing genuine interest in them. Asking why shows that you are totally focused on them. So there is the single most important word in sales. I want to hear from you. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Be sure to share in the comments section below, and I will be sure to respond to every single comment that I can get to. And if you enjoyed this video, simply click right here for access to a free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goals. Seriously, it's an amazing book and it's free, so just click right here. Also, if you got some value out of this video, please like this video below on YouTube because that really helps me out. And also, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking right here, that little red button, in order to get access to a new video just like this one each week. I can't afford it. It's just too expensive. We just don't have the budget. If you've been in sales long enough, you've heard these devastating phrases in your sales before. People ask me, what do I do with a prospect that says that? And that's the wrong question. What we want to ask is, how do I avoid hearing these phrases in the first place? Once you've heard one of these phrases, you're already in trouble. In fact, I'd argue that there's very little that you can do to save the sale at this point. This is because your prospect is basically telling you that you haven't shown me enough value to justify my making this investment. It is your job to do that, not their job. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 steps every salesperson must take to avoid, I can't afford it. Check it out. 1, disqualification mindset. There are some prospects who simply don't see value or don't have money. It is your job in the beginning of the sales process to identify these people as soon as possible. That means asking questions to really understand how critical those challenges are. To understand, are they the type of person who will really invest in these types of challenges? The second that you determine that they're not going to make an investment, it's your job to immediately disqualify those prospects. A disqualification mindset means that you think like a doctor. You're not going to look for a sale. You're looking for a prospect who has some serious challenges and a willingness and a commitment to solve them. Anyone who falls outside of that, disqualify. Number two, help them calculate the upside. Once you understand the challenges, it doesn't just stop there. Every prospect knows that they have challenges, but often they haven't done the math, the real calculations on what those challenges are really costing them and what it would mean to the organization in additional revenue or profit or cost savings to actually solve those challenges. The math is where you actually build value in the sales process. So by asking a question like, if you were able to solve these challenges, what would it mean in additional profit or cost saved or additional revenue? You are now creating value in the sales process by asking a question like that. Number three, discuss money before you present. So often salespeople think it's easier to just present the solution before talking about money. Let's face it, talking about money is uncomfortable. But the problem is, once you present your solution and share your prices, you suddenly have far less use to the prospect. You've given away the goods. Establish a budget before you present your solution. Make sure that you're on the same page with money before you show them the goods. By doing that, you're going to keep the sale on track and make sure that what you're presenting will be better received by the prospect. So there are 3 steps every salesperson must take to avoid, I can't afford it. I want to hear from you. Which of these ideas did you find most useful? Be sure to share below in the comments section to get involved in the conversation. And if you enjoyed this video, then I have this awesome free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goal. Just click right here to get instant access to it. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking right here, my little face, to get access to a new video just like this one each week. Until next week. Did you know that there is actually a formula to doubling your sales? Sadly, most salespeople just wing the math to try to get themselves to increase sales. This leads to very disappointing results. A few years back, I created a mathematical formula to actually double sales. It involves 3 components to increasing sales and combining all of them together to create multiplicative growth. I call it the 2X formula. And what's amazing about it is that it lays out the strategy to blow up your sales without ever having to work harder. It's all about working smarter to increase your sales. In this video, I'm going to show you the exact formula to double your sales while working less than you do now. Check it out. So we are here at my studio whiteboard, and I'm going to walk you through this formula. And mind you, there is some math, but I promise you, if you hang in there, you're going to see a whole new way of increasing sales. To start, there are 3 ways to actually increase sales. The first is to increase the number of customers. And so by that, I mean literally either increasing your closing ratio, prospecting more, getting more customers, closing more sales. The second way to increase sales is by increasing the average sale size. And so this means either increasing your price or adding more into your average sales so the average price goes up. The third way to increase your sales is to increase the frequency of purchase. So getting your existing customers or your new customers to buy more often from you. How often are your customers buying from you right now? With this laid out, the 3 ways of increasing sales, now we're going to actually take a look at the 2x formula. So the 2x formula looks something like this. In order to 2x your sales, you are going to increase the number of customers by 26%. So increase your customers by 26%, you multiply by 1.26. Don't worry too much about the math. You're going to increase the average sale size by 26%. And then lastly, you're going to increase the frequency by 26%. So again, 1.26 times frequency. When you multiply these all together, you get a 2x increase in sales. So let me actually walk you through an example of how this looks. Again, don't freak out. This is really, really powerful stuff, and you're going to see it all come together in a second. So now let's look at the example of Denise. Denise was a client of mine who owned a marketing business, and I'm going to show you how we applied this formula to her business to help her actually double sales. Her business broke down quite simply. She had about 1,000 customers. So she was selling mostly to small businesses and had a customer base of about 1,000 people. Her average sale, on average, was pretty close to $1,000. And on average, her customers were buying from her once a year. So 1 time per year. This is a pretty decent business, but at the time she wasn't really earning that much profit. The revenues of this business, by the way we would calculate her revenues, we multiply these 3 numbers together. So she had a $1 million business, which again, this is revenues, this isn't profit. So her profit was considerably lower than that, just kind of getting by with these numbers. Now, if most people were to look at and say, how does Denise double her sales? Most people would look at just one component of the business in order to try to double sales. So they might say, well, in order to double sales, we would increase the number of customers to, let's say, double that and get it to 2,000 customers. But that's really, really hard to do, right? To go from 1,000 customers to 2,000 is really difficult. So that's out. The other way would be to double her sale size. Instead of the average purchase being $1,000, make it $2,000. But again, that's really, really difficult. So we'll say that that's out as well. And then lastly, we could double the frequency of purchase. So getting her customers, instead of buying once a year, buying twice a year. But again, this is difficult stuff. So that option is out as well. So what do you actually do to get Denise to double sales? We run it through the 2x formula. So I'm going to actually erase this, and I'm going to plug her numbers right into what we did. So in order to double sales with Denise, we increased the number of customers by 26%. So we took 1,000 customers and multiplied it by 1.26, which comes out to 1,260 customers. This is not that big of a change, right? Most people, if you really look at your business, you say, I could increase my sales, or I could increase the number of customers by 26%. Totally reasonable change. The next is so that's customers. The next is the sales size, so the average size. So, through some technique, which you can find in other videos and some different strategies, we were able to get her to increase her average sale size by 26%. So instead of her average sale being $1,000, we multiplied it by 1.26, and we got the average sale size to $1,260. These are surprisingly close to the numbers that we actually got with her too. And then lastly, we increased the frequency of purchase by just a little bit. So the frequency, instead of one time per year, we multiplied it by 1.26. So it came out to 1.26 purchases per year, which, by the way, if you think of it more simply, it's really a purchase every 9.5 months or so. So 9.5 months. So instead of people buying from her once a year, we put some packages and programs in place to get customers to buy just a little bit more frequently. Does that make sense? When we multiply these numbers together, this is how we get her revenues now. Again, using the 2x formula, I'll remove that 9.5 months. And so we just multiply these three numbers together. And what we get are revenues of $2 million and $376. $2,376,000. Can you see what we just did here? We multiplied each of these factors, the number of customers, the average sales size, and the frequency, by 26%. We increased each just incrementally. But because this is multiplication, it actually leads to an increase in sales of $2 million. She went from $1 million the year before to $2 million now. Can you see how powerful that is? So even if you're looking at this math and you're going cross-eyed and you're like, "Brr," it really doesn't matter. All you have to worry about is that increase each of these three areas by just 26%. All that matters is this simple number, 26%. It's a very, very simple number. It's very attainable, very doable. And when you do that, you can double your sales. Really, really powerful distinction. So there is the exact formula to double your sales while working less than you do now. Can you apply this to your own business? If so, how would it look? Be sure to share below in the comment section, and I'll be sure to respond to every comment that I can. And if you enjoyed this video, then I have this awesome free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goals. Just click right here to get it instantly. Seriously, it's an amazing book and it's free. Just click right here. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube because that really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe by clicking right here to get access to a new video just like this one each week. Lastly, if you got just one useful idea from this video, please share it with a friend or two. A great idea is the best gift you can give someone. Until next week. Body language is king when it comes to selling. It's what determines exactly how a prospect is going to look at you. Just to give you an idea, look at these three examples of different body language. Hi, Marc Wayshak. Hi, Marc Wayshak. Hi, Marc Wayshak. Now, did you feel differently about me in each of those three examples? I bet you did. The data shows that body language and tonality account for over 90% of how we're going to be perceived by others. So are you thinking about the body language that you're using when you're in front of your prospects and your customers? In this video, I'm going to show you 3 must-know body language tips for salespeople. Check it out. Now, before I get into the 3 tips, there's one overarching key idea that's important for all salespeople, which is that you need to be a chameleon. It's time to stop worrying about just being yourself. Instead, focus on what your prospects or your customers are doing in order to make them more comfortable. It's important to know that people are going to feel comfortable around those who remind them of themselves. So it's really time to start matching your prospects and customers. How can you look and feel like them? Number one, match their handshake grip. You know, some handshakes are super strong, right? And they just squeeze you as hard as they can. Maybe that's something that you do. On the other hand, some prospects are going to have a really soft and weak grip. But people are going to immediately feel uncomfortable if you're different. So that means that if you come in really strong, but they have that soft grip, you're going to immediately make them feel not so okay. But on the other hand, if you have a soft grip and they are the tough, tight gripper, that disconnect is immediately going to cause you to feel a little bit uncomfortable with one another. Match their grip. Wait to see how they feel and just match it. It's amazing how quickly someone's going to feel that much more comfortable around you. Number two, match their positioning. Do you ever look at how a prospect is standing or sitting when they're in front of you? Start to watch exactly what they do. Do they stand tall? Do they lean in? Do they have their hand on their chin and they're leaning forward? Do they have their legs crossed and they're seated backwards? Watch exactly what they do and just start to match. You don't have to match exactly what they're doing, but just start to match generally the way they're standing or sitting. They're going to feel so much more comfortable around you and so much more able to open up to you if you start to just look like them. Number three, match their tonality. So remember those three examples before at the beginning of this video? One of the most obvious differences between those three different examples was the tonality that I used when I introduced myself. Tonality, it's not about what you say, but how you say it. And there are really two key components to how you say something. And you want to start to match your prospects. The first one is volume. So if your prospect is a quiet speaker and they tend to speak softly, if you come in and you say, "Hey, Marc Wayshak here," they're going to feel pretty uncomfortable around you. And same thing goes the other way. If they're a strong, loud-voiced person and you come in softly, again, mismatch, disconnect, over. So start to match their volume. The other piece that you want to match from a tonality perspective is the pace. So do they speak quickly or do they speak slowly? This is going to be a point where regional, geographical differences are going to make a difference. If you're from New York, chances are you speak more quickly than someone who might be from Northern Kentucky. And as a result, if your prospect speaks at a different pace than you, you want to start to match that pace. Again, I'm not suggesting that you change everything about the way you speak, but just start to be conscientious to match your prospect, and you're going to find that they're going to be so much more comfortable around you. So there are three must-know body language tips for salespeople. I want to hear from you. Which of these tips did you find most useful? Be sure to share below in the comments section, and I will be sure to respond to every comment that I can get to. And if you enjoyed this video, then I have this awesome free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goals. Just click right here to get it instantly. Seriously, it's an amazing book and it's free. Just click right here. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube because that really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe by clicking right here to get access to a new video just like this one each week. Lastly, if you got just one useful idea from this video, please share it with a friend or two. A great idea is the best gift you can give someone. Until next week. When I began my first business, I was clueless. I had no idea how to sell, and I was doing everything wrong. But a few years in, I began to receive some powerful mentorship from some sales experts that saw the world of selling from a completely different perspective. In particular, they broke down sales into a few key steps that forever changed the way I would sell. Before I met them, my average sales size was under $10,000, yielding me a personal commission of around $4,500. After I learned their approach and strategies, my sales were unrecognizable from before. Eventually, I was able to close a sale that led to a personal commission of $161,472. And what's amazing is that I didn't do anything magical. I just implemented their techniques on one large prospect. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 techniques that helped me earn $161,472 in commission from a single sale. Check it out. Number 1, dig into challenges. When I first began selling, I always thought that conversations with a prospect should involve me trying to sell, but this couldn't be further from the truth. The first part of any selling interaction involves digging into the prospect's challenges. So with this particular prospect, I asked questions about their current situation to understand what was going on, what they had tried before, and what wasn't working. When the prospect would tell me about his issues, he shared so much valuable information about where I would ultimately focus my solution. I just dug and dug for over an hour. Number 2, identify the delta. Now, the delta is simply the difference between where they are now and where they would like to be. So in the case of my prospect, I understood that they were dealing with some challenges that kept revenues lower than they wanted. So I simply asked one very basic question. If you were able to solve these challenges, what do you think that would mean in additional revenues? He replied that they could easily be doing $10 million more per year were they able to solve these issues. Wait, did you hear that? I just said he told me $10 million. That is what you call creating value in the sales process. The prospect just told me that a solution, potentially my solution, was worth $10 million in revenues to them. $10 million. That is impressive value. Number 3, budget, budget, budget. Once I established the value of a solution, it was time to establish a budget. I didn't want to just run off after that meeting and create a proposal without knowing whether we were really on the same page with budget. This protected me on both ends. So if I came in really low, the prospect might consider me too small and would ultimately disqualify me. Plus, I'd have been leaving a lot of money on the table. On the other hand, if I came in too high, the sale would also be over. So before I put together a solution or even discussed it, I asked another powerful question. What could you invest in order to solve these challenges? After some back and forth, we established a budget. And when I ultimately presented my proposal a few weeks later, we were on the exact same page. And I closed a sale that earned me a commission of $161,472, my largest by far to that date. So there are the 3 techniques that helped me earn $161,472 in commissions from a single sale. I want to hear from you. Which of these techniques did you find most useful? Be sure to share below in the comments section, and I'll be sure to respond to every comment that I can get to. And if you enjoyed this video, then I have this awesome free ebook on 25 tips to crush your sales goals. Just click right here to get it instantly. Seriously, it's an amazing book and it's free. Just click right here. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube because that really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe by clicking right here to get access to a new video just like this one each week. Lastly, if you got just one useful idea from this video, please share it with a friend or two. A great idea is the best gift you can give someone. Until next week.